Welcome into Bracket Buster Breakdown. The Sweet 16 is officially over, on the men's side at least. We have 8 teams remaining. Some interesting results. The final 8 we have isn't the greatest mix of teams, but I think that says more about how bad this year has been in college basketball, that there's been one or two dominant forces and everybody else just kind of is there. So let's do a quick recap of the Sweet 16. So we'll start off as we always do in the East region. The number 1 seed overall, UConn Huskies, they defeat the San Diego State Aztecs 82-52. This game truly was never close. San Diego State kept it close to the first TV timeout. I believe they were down by 1 or 2 at that time. And then UConn proceeds to go on a 12-2 run coming out of that. And that moved the score to 27-16, somewhere around there. And San Diego State was never coming back in this game. UConn tops that previous run off in the second half, just past that 10-minute mark in the second half, for a 14-1 run that lasted basically until 4:30 left in the game. And then San Diego State did not hit a shot from 4 minutes to go until the final buzzer, when they did make a shot right there at the end to make it a 30-point loss instead of a 32-point loss. UConn still, they are the dominant force here. Cam Spencer was the MVP of this game. He played 32 minutes, 18 points. Just outstanding performance from him. Tristan Newton, another great performance from him. He had 17 points on the day. Jadon Lee, or Leedy, for San Diego State, he locked down Klingon most of the game, which that's saying something when you're locking down somebody like Klingon. He ended up with 18 points. He was their highest point scorer in this game for San Diego State. He's had a great season this year. He basically kept San Diego State in this game, even though it very much did get run away from them in the end. It was still an outstanding performance from him. Locking down Klingon just to 8 points on the day. That says something. Even though he had 4 and 4 offensive and defensive rebounds, it was still quite an impressive performance, shutting him down. The second game in this region at the TD Garden, it was Illinois facing off against Iowa State, the 2 seed versus the 3 seed, and it was Illinois walking away with a 72-69 victory. This was an interesting game because Illinois were always in control of the game, but they always let Iowa State right back in. And it was like, is this where Iowa State takes over this game? Is this where, they turn the corner and, here comes an Illinois choke again? We got to a point, I believe right at the 9:30 mark, right around there. It was 51-49 Illinois. We were at points where it was, I believe, at half we were at 36-26, I believe. So, this game, it got run away quickly from Iowa State. They made, I think, a total of 9 points in the first 10 minutes, which, if you're trying to win games, you want to score more than 9 points in the first 10 minutes of the game. Illinois countered that, I believe, with 16. So you kind of want to make those shots there. It was another performance from Terrence Shannon Jr. Leading this team. He is the one that is leading this team everywhere. 29 points on this game. 5 total rebounds, 2 assists. This Illinois team lives and dies with Terrence Shannon. It does suck to say, but that's That's just how it is. Should he be playing right now? Probably not. But here we are, Illinois versus UConn in the Elite Eight for a spot in the Final Four. This UConn's team just seems unstoppable. The question is, how will they face up against the number one offensive team in the KenPom? Now, of course, UConn is basically right behind them there. I believe they are at 2 or 3. So this game may be more about the defense. And let me tell you something, this Illinois defense is not great. Coming into this game, I say I'm a little bit worried for UConn. Vegas is not. They have them as a 8.5-point favorite. That is a interesting number for a 1 versus a 3 seed, if I say so myself. Moving on to the South region. This region just has kind of fallen apart at the seams. First game was Houston, the number 1 seed. They fall to Duke 54-51 in an absolutely disgusting game. But the biggest talking point here was Jamal Sheed getting injured. He's out for obviously the rest of the game. That basically ended Houston's season right there. When you lose your best player to an injury, it's just never going to work out. I mean, Houston did keep it close. I mean, we were trading shot for shot. It was a 2-point game for a lot of the beginning of the second half, and then it just shots stopped being made on both sides. Honestly, Duke, it's not a good team. They are here in the Elite Eight though, because I mean, if you look at this Mickey Mouse run, I mean, they had a 13 seed, an 11, a number 1 seed, or 13, a 12, a 1 seed without their best player, and we'll get to it in a minute, but they will be playing an 11 seed for the Final Four. That is just absolutely disgusting. But this was not the Houston team that we've seen all year. And it was because of that Jamal Sheed injury, and it absolutely sucks that it had to come at this point. But it never really did seem like Houston was going to get to Phoenix or Glendale, whatever you want to call it. Now, I know other results broke the other way in the game, so they probably would have had a better path. But this team, I mean, they barely survived that Texas A&M game. They won by 5 in overtime. I thought Duke would put up a tougher test. I mean, obviously they came away with the victory, but I mean, it's not great. This Houston team has been good all year. It felt like this year might finally be the year they get over that hump. It's obviously not. We end up with them losing in the Sweet 16, and just a tough way to end for Kelvin Sampson's men. And we move on to the second game. Kind of already gave you an idea of how this game ended out. It was NC State walking away with a 67-58 victory over the Marquette Golden Eagles. Marquette, they couldn't make shots this game. It was absolutely disgusting. The amount of open threes that they just completely whiffed on. I mean, their largest lead in the game was 5-2, which is saying something. That's not great. And watching players like Tyler Kolek, Oso Ighodaro, going out like that, it's not great. I mean, they did not have great performances by their standards. Kolek had 17 points. Ighodaro had 6. It felt like this could be the year for the Marquette team. Once they got past Colorado, it's like, okay, maybe Marquette finally makes a run this year. Maybe they can get to the Final Four. They obviously can't. We are here now. We have this NC State team, which is just on a insane run right now. I mean, Casey Morsel, Muhammad Diarra, DJ Burns, of course, America's favorite player, DJ Burns. This is our Elite Eight. We have an all ACC matchup to go to the Final Four. It's Duke, NC State. Neither of these teams are good, honestly. I think Duke lucked into a good run. I think NC State is just because they're hot right now. But yeah, this is what we got for the South region. If we move on to the Midwest region, we head up to Detroit. First game of the night was Purdue against Gonzaga. Purdue walks away with an 80-68 victory. This game kept going back and forth. Gonzaga had their moments. Purdue had their moments. And then Purdue went on a 16-2 run with like 13 minutes remaining in the game. And that was it. Before the run, I believe it was 55-51. So game was still close. And then Purdue goes on that run. It ends up being 53-69 or something like that. Something around there. And there was no coming back for Gonzaga in that game. Zach Edey, another great performance, 27 points, 14 rebounds. I mean, somebody's got to find a way to stop him. I don't know if there's an answer out there. It's just he is that dominant. And when you're that tall, I mean, yeah, of course you're going to be just outstanding with the ball right near the rim. The other big thing for Gonzaga in this game was foul trouble. They did get in foul trouble. I mean, Ben Gregg, Graham Ike, both had 3 fouls going into the second half, which obviously not great. It led to them playing lesser minutes and, Mark Few having to go to the bench. If there wasn't foul trouble, I think Gonzaga probably has a better shot in this game, but just the foul trouble is the foul trouble. This Gonzaga team looked hot coming into this game, and then we get here, and that team kind of dissipated from last week. So Purdue moves on to the Elite Eight. They trying to get rid of those demons from 2019 when they faced off against Virginia. They will be facing off against Tennessee, who got an 82-75 victory over Creighton. This game, we were back and forth going for basically the whole first half. I think we got to a point, it was 35-34 going into halftime. Coming out of half, Tennessee, it's their first shot, so we're right around there. Creighton tied up again, 37 all. They go up 39-37, and then Tennessee, right after that, go on an 18-0 run. And that's where the game was over. It was 55-39 with 14 minutes remaining in the game. Creighton couldn't make a shot to save their lives. And it just, that was the end of it there. Creighton went on a 13-2 run with right around 10 minutes remaining, but it wasn't going to be enough. They started making their shots, though. They started making their shots at the end of the game, which was just too late. And yeah, Tennessee, they move on to the Elite Eight. Their second Elite Eight overall. Their first since 2010. Never been to a Final Four. Purdue, obviously, has not been to a Final Four since 1980. And of course, after that 1980 season, their head coach left to become the head coach at South Florida. And South Florida only had a basketball program for, I think, around 8 years at that time. So it's just a funny stat. We move on to the West region. North Carolina, what happened here? I don't know what happened here. They lose 89-87 to Alabama. Alabama moves on to the Elite Eight. Alabama, they looked like they were not going to be in this game. North Carolina went on a 15-2 run, like right at the beginning of the game. And we're like, okay, North Carolina might just run away with this. Alabama answers with a 10-0 run of their own with 11 minutes remaining in the first half. They start making a lot of shots, and it feels like momentum starting to turn. I mean, Grant Nelson, Mark Sears, both putting up great performances, just kind of in that stretch to keep Alabama in this game. Then, North Carolina just goes on another run again. They end up with the lead at halftime, 54-46. It kind of felt like, okay, North Carolina just needs to control this second half. They'll end up winning the game. Now, Alabama had their shots in the second half. In that middle frame between the 15 and 10 minute marks, they regained the lead, but it was still too close, and they still ended up falling again. It would be North Carolina. I think they had a 75-70 lead with right around 6 minutes remaining. Alabama, right after that, goes on a 12-2 run. They take at the highest, I believe it was an 82-77 lead, and that was with 4 minutes remaining. Then North Carolina jumps back in the lead. It's 85-82 as they go on a short run of their own, and that was right around a minute 30 left. And then there we go again, Alabama making shots. They take the lead 87-85. And then obviously foul shots at the end gets us a final score of 89-87. Just a wild game, especially right there at the end. Armando Bacot's, Cormac Ryan's, their basketball careers are over. It feels like they've been in college for 10 years. Their careers are over. Alabama moves on to their first Elite Eight since 2004. They're looking for, I believe it's their first Final Four appearance, something like that. We talked about a lot of point scoring. If you take, because obviously it's two 20-minute halves, if you break it down to quarters, so if you take the 10-minute mark as a quarter, first quarter, we had a 24-26 score with North Carolina in the lead. Second quarter, North Carolina put up 28, Alabama put up 22. The game changer here in this game was this quarter three. So coming out of halftime and then the first 10 minutes after that. Alabama put up 15. North Carolina put up 7. That was really the game changer here. Because, we look at the fourth quarter, Alabama put up 28, North Carolina put up 26. So the one quarter where North Carolina was held to single digits, that was a big game changer in this game. That was the turning point. Alabama ends up walking away with victorious. They move on to the Elite Eight, where they were expected to face off against Arizona, but Clemson pull off the upset. They win 77-72. Brad Brownwell's team, they're going on a run just like NC State is right now. It feels like Brad Brownwell and Kevin Keats, when they get put on the hot seat, this team just becomes the 96 Bulls. Chase Hunter, 18 points in this game, I should say. This was an overall team performance. You didn't have any players over 20 points on the game. The high score was Chase Hunter with 18. You have PJ Hall with 17. You have Ian Shefferin with 14. Then you get to your bench players of Dylan Hunter, Chauncey Wiggins, RJ Godfrey. You get those bench points, and then you look at a comparison with Arizona. That Jaden Bradley, he was their highest scorer on the game, and he was coming off the bench. He put up 18 points. The thing was, Caleb Love put up 13. But, you got to look at players like Killian Boswell, who was in the starting lineup, only put up 3. Keyshawn Johnson put up 6. Pelly Larson put up 8. If you're going to win games like this, and this has become a problem with these Arizona teams the past few years, they just start not putting up shots in games, and they just don't hit. And that's what happened to Arizona here. It happened to them in the Princeton game last year. It happened to them again this year. They just couldn't make shots in the key moments. That is 100% where this game turned around. They had a 46-45 lead just past the 15-minute mark in the second half. And then they just didn't make shots again. That's how we end up with 77-72. And there was no like major scoring run in this game. There wasn't like a 15-2 run or a 20-0 run in this game. There was really never that. Arizona just couldn't make their shots in key moments. That's really all it was. Clemson moves on to the Elite Eight, their first time since the 1980s. So, I mean, it's an interesting Elite Eight. So we have UConn and Illinois going at it in Boston tonight. That is a 6:09 tip-off. Then you got the late game tonight. I say that with air quotes because the game tips off at 8:49. It's not like it's 10 o'clock tip-off. It's Alabama and Clemson in Los Angeles. Alabama's a 3.5-point favorite going into that one. Now we move on to Sunday. The early tip-off is the 2:20 tip-off in Detroit. It is the number 1 seed Purdue going up against the number 2 seed Tennessee, this is the first 1 seed versus 2 seed matchup in the Elite Eight since 2019. Kind of felt like this was the year we were going to get one. Didn't feel like it was going to be this region, though. Purdue opens up as a 3.5-point favorite. And then your prime time slot, even though it's a 5 o'clock tip-off, it is the 4 seed Duke going up against the 11 seed NC State. A Tobacco Road throwdown in Dallas. Duke is a 6.5-point favorite. I kind of said it earlier that none of these teams are like truly, I don't know, that they don't have those storylines. I know Purdue has the storyline. They lost to the 16 seed last year. Can they win the national championship the year after? Just like Virginia did in 2018/2019. Tennessee, Dalton Knecht. He's really their only great player on this team. Clemson, their basketball is just awful to watch. Alabama, I guess you can say they're good to watch. This isn't as good as their team from last year, but I guess that says something that they got here. Truly, the only great storyline here is UConn. Potentially going back-to-back. The bracket has broken a little bit their way if they can get past Illinois. I still think Illinois is going to be a tough test. But it does feel like this is UConn's to lose. If you look at the futures for a national champion right now, UConn is at plus 100. So basically you're making your money back. The next closest, I believe, is Purdue at plus 550. So UConn is a heavy favorite to win the national title. So that is going to wrap it up for this episode of Bracket Buster Breakdown. Thank you so much for watching. If you just stumbled across this video, click like, click subscribe, tell anybody you know about it. We'll be back on Tuesday. We'll recap the Elite Eight, give a little bit of a preview to the Final Four. We'll recap the Women's Sweet 16 and Elite Eight because their games go to Monday, so it would be dumb to do a video on Monday. We'll do it on Tuesday. We'll have both Final Fours set. Should be an exciting time. Basketball rapidly winding down. We only have very few games left. So thank you so much for watching. We will see you again soon for another episode of Bracket Buster Breakdown.